everyone, and welcome to Body Talk with Cindy. I'm very pleased this evening that we have two wonderful people that are going to be our guests on the show. One is Erica Perlow. She is a health coach with Take Shape for Life, and the other is Cherokee Otterson, and she is a wellness coach. She's also a certified ICF coach, and she has retreats and several other things, endeavors that she uses to promote wellness. But first of all, I'd like to say thank you to our sponsor this month, and that is Leslie Flowers. She is a personal growth expert. She studied the secrets of success for 15 years and has translated them into a woman's voice. She teaches people to learn to step through their fears, to believe in themselves, to honor and accept our own infinite greatness, and she'll show you how to find yours. Leslie has 3 workshops this fall, one in September, in fact it's this Friday morning in North Raleigh, one in October and November, to deal with what stops us from being, doing, and having what we want. She also has an 8-week Think and Grow Rich Mastermind study starting next Tuesday evening in Cary at 7 p.m. You can find links for the Friday's workshop and next Tuesday's Mastermind kickoff on her services page at her website, pathsofchange.com. Paths, P-A-T-H-S, of change.com. You can also reach her at 919-271-4948. And thank you, Leslie, for being a supporter of Body Talk with Cindy. Now, before we start talking with Erica, I had something that I saw this week on the news that was a little disturbing. And I don't remember if it was on CNN or ABC, but there was a woman looking for a new doctor because she had been not allowed. Her doctor refused service. She went to a doctor and they said, no, you're over 200 pounds and we are refusing service to anyone that weighs over 200 pounds. We will not treat you. So, I mean, obviously this was very upsetting to her. It made the news. They interviewed the doctor and she said, no, we stopped in June allowing anyone over 200 pounds. We're not going to treat them. And they have the right not to treat anyone. That's their right. But she said that her employees were getting injured with overweight people. Well, I was like aghast because, wow, I mean, 200 pounds, there's a lot of people that weigh over 200 pounds. And to think that perhaps they're not going to get the quality of care that someone else would get because of their weight is disturbing. And then I thought back on something that happened to me in the medical profession, and a number of years ago, I think it was about 10 years ago, they found a lump in my breast. And typically you can be put on a table and like just a needle inserted into the place, and they do the biopsy that way. Well, they said that I exceeded the weight limit for the table, so they could not do that. So I had to have an actual surgery where they cut open my breast and took out the lump. So as we think about, and honestly, I mean, that's scary because you think, oh, well, you happen to have something more invasive because you are too heavy for the table. And that's probably, I think, well, what are they going to do with this? Because one of the leading things in our country, the epidemic, is obesity. So are more and more people, they're just going to cut off the health services. I hear things that insurance may go up for heavy people. And I see the insurance, not that I think that's right, because there's people that smoke and do things that maybe aren't as evident to their bodies that are not helpful. But are they just going to cut off the services to obese people? Are they going to start making, do they start making more expensive, heavier tables and things to take care of this epidemic? It's scary. And we've talked about the obesity epidemic. And my goal, and I hope everyone's goal here, is to start that journey to health so we don't encounter those situations. But my heart bleeds for those that may encounter that, where they can't have a quality of health or someone to treat them because of their size. And now, on that thought, if anybody has any thoughts on that, please give us a call. I'd like to hear them. And the phone number here is 919-518-9773. Now, on a positive note, we have Miss Erica Perlow. She is a certified health coach for Take Shape for Life. Now, this is kind of in the second part of Erica's life. She actually, her most important role is as a mother to an incredible 14-year-old named Jordan, and she has her little beagle coonhound also, and married to Lee Pollard. So of those things, let me just say that she spent 20 years as a environmental and civil rights activist and lawyer, working with a lot of national organizations, and really tried to make a change environmentally and so forth. Once she had her child, she recognized that was just too much of her time, and she needed to be able to be at home more. So she gave up that career and started making jewelry and singing and writing songs. She does. The more I talk with the women, they do all kinds of things. She and her husband own a computer business, Computer Therapy, in Chatham County. And about 4 years ago, she started having a really hard time losing weight. And a friend of hers, her very good friend in another state, introduced her to Take Shape for Life, and she lost weight. I think about 20 pounds in 2 months, and she just felt so good and saw so many results of people that were really overweight, and she decided to take that on as a calling and really helping people, again, create health, lose weight quickly and safely, and keep it off. And I think that's a major part of this, is her quest to keep it off. Now, she actually is my health coach with Take Shape for Life, and we typically have a weekly call and just kind of assess, because I think that's the important part of coaching, and we'll talk more about that with Cherokee also. So, Erica, tell us how you feel about being a coach and what you feel about helping fight obesity.
I love it. I love it passionately. As you said, my background was in environmental civil rights work, but the focus of the groups that I work for in social justice was always around health issues. Honestly, it probably comes from growing up with my dad, who was a physician, and I loved him very much, and he was the type of doctor that would, stay by his patient's bed and sleep there if he needed to back in the day. So I grew up with, I guess, a strong sense of ethics and morality around health and how important and valuable it is too. So I passionately love what I do. I am able to help, as many people as want my help. And the organization that I'm an independent consultant for, Take Shape for Life, has been around for 30 years, 10 years the health coaching piece, and 30 years Medifast, the food piece. And we are very successful because we have an excellent program, and we have 30,000 coaches like me.
Now, I've read Dr. Anderson's book, and I guess I was impressed with it when I was starting to look at what would be a good way, and that he believes very much in quickly taking off the weight so you can get that benefit, but also once you take off the weight, to slowly transition into a lifestyle that you can live with the rest of your life. So it's not just you're left to, okay, you eat this food and you lose weight and bam, now you are out by yourself trying to eat regular food again.
Right. So I will say, just fine-tuning what you just said, that I think one thing that sets us apart from a lot of the other programs out there that call themselves either weight loss or wellness programs, we really think of our program as creating habits of health and creating lifestyle changes. The first part for many people being the weight loss part of the journey. But we have a terrific transition program where once you're very close to meeting your weight loss goal, we start replacing the meal replacements with regular food, quotes, grains or proteins, fruit, dairy, and grains. And we do it depending on how much you have to lose week by week. There's sort of a formula we have depending on how much you have to lose. But we reintroduce those foods back, and you sort of lose a MetaFast meal as you proceed and get closer to your goal. And that way you now know how to eat really for the rest of your life. And when you're losing the weight, you're eating 6 times a day, 5 of our meal replacements, 1 of your own. We call it a lean and green. It's a protein and 3 veggies. But you will continue to eat that way for the rest of your life. You just, you eat the 5 and 1 while you're losing weight, and then when you transition and now you're on maintenance, you're at your goal, you continue eating 5 or 6 times a day.
Now, I think that's been a part that I was most impressed with because, I do have diabetes, and my blood sugar, and I've mentioned this on the last show, was in the over 300 range, like 335 to 400, and I could not seem to get it to come down. And once I started on that program, just the eating every 2.5 to 3 hours seemed to level my blood sugar. And I think that, wouldn't you say that that's like you said, that is a way I'm going to have to eat the rest of my life. I truly believe those every 2.5 to 3 hours, so I stay on a level playing field.
That's exactly right. And it's that you're eating every 2 to 3 hours, but it's also, of course, the food choices that you make, because if you're eating junk every 2 to 3 hours, that's not going to be helpful.
Correct.
But if you're making healthy food choices every 2 to 3 hours,
right,
and you're making healthy food choices and proper portion sizes every 2 to 3 hours, then you're 100%. And your blood sugar, your glucose and insulin, instead of spiking throughout the day when you're only eating 1, 2, maybe 3 times a day, will be, as you say, level. And it provides you, just a lot more energy. You feel great, and it's much healthier for your whole body.
Now, I know that the exercise is a part of what ends up after the first month. I believe the first month they don't really encourage you to exercise because your body's making a lot of adjustments anyway. But then, I was impressed as any additional movement is good. So whether it's parking further in your car or, are there other ways that you work with your clients that are ways to get additional movement without saying you're actually going out and walking for 10 minutes even, or 15 or 30?
Oh, yeah. I should actually have the book with me, but Dr. Anderson, Wayne Anderson, who is medical director for MetaFast, and he started Take Shape for Life, he wrote a book called Habits of Health. It's fantastic. It's sort of like our quotes Bible that, really teaches you everything you need to know to be healthy, whether it has to do with, how to eat, with fitness, all kinds of different specifics regarding fitness, with the importance of sleep and different issues related to sleep, etc. But yes, Cindy, what we actually do is what we tell people that the first 3 weeks of the program,
mm-hmm.
you are sort of a sedentary person that doesn't work out or get exercise, we tell you not to start your first 3 weeks. But after the first 3 weeks are up, I will create an individual program with you depending on your circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
If you are, like I have one client that literally worked out, and she continues to, and she's a coach now too, actually, on the coast, 2 hours every day. Every day. I had to work with her to get her to cut her workout in half the first 3 weeks. And she did it. But, so, we have the range of folks, the people who are workout maniacs and the people who, really don't work out at all. But the first 3 weeks are crucial because it is a time when your metabolism is shifting to this new program.
Now, you've worked with some people that were severely obese that have
Right.
had some great results. Can you share some of that with us?
Oh, sure. I think one of my favorite stories, honestly, was one of my first clients who was, I guess she was 75 pounds overweight, and she was a senior citizen, and she was on blood pressure, all the medications,
Right.
blood pressure, cholesterol, heart medication. And she was having a hard time with the heart medication. In fact, her cardiologist tried 3 different medications for her, and she kept having bad reactions to each. So God bless her, she ended up in the hospital several times, and finally she called me from the hospital and was crying and said, I feel like I'm going to die if I don't get help, if I don't, lose this weight and get off this medication. And she did fantastically and was off the medications within her first month. And so I will say that part of this journey of getting healthy is teaching people how to take care of themselves in so many levels. But getting people off medications is a beautiful thing. And I think it's where, we all need to be going, because too many doctors today are throwing medications at symptoms instead of trying to fix what they should be fixing, which would be through educating people about programs like ours and getting the weight off.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And unfortunately, so many of, cholesterol and the high blood pressure, so many things are related to our eating habits, our lack of exercise, and so forth. And I think another point that I liked in his book is that it talks about, having a purpose, about socialization. Do you find, I would think, as far as socialization, how important it is to be a vibrant part of your community, be out there. But I think that when people are really overweight and they're tired and they can't get around, that it's very hard for them to socialize.
Right. Right. Yes, definitely. Dr. Anderson talks about, lots of different things health related, and the trilogy of health is healthy body, healthy mind, and healthy finances. And what he means by that is that, all those things can be really and are interrelated. So, for me, if you're going to work on your body and focus on your body and focus on losing weight and getting it healthy, at the very same time, I think of it as sort of like an unfolding process. When you start working on your body, well, then issues come up for you emotionally or psychologically that empower you more as you feel more empowered taking care of your body. So, everything works together.
Now, you've been doing this for how many years now?
4.
Okay. What do you think about having the accountability? Do you think that's an important part of the process?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Dr. Anderson thoroughly studied the results of successful people from this weight loss registry before he started Take Shape for Life. And people who had lost, I guess on the average, I think of 50 or 60 pounds or more and had kept it off for 2 years or more. And one thing that he found was that they had excellent support in their life. And, I think that applies to so many things in our life, whatever, our journey supports or whatever we need. Certainly in the weight loss world, in the health world, it helps to have somebody to not just be accountable. I mean, yes, you're accountable to me because we're going to talk each week, but you also know that I am there for you. I'm in your corner. I mean, when we talk on a call or we email, if something goes awry for you that week or whatever, I'm not there to beat you up. I'm there to encourage you. I'm there to help you get through it, to love yourself through it, and just keep moving forward. And I think I feel like I'm friends with all my clients. I think that's very important.
Let's go back to that, love yourself through it, because I think that it's a common problem with many people that body image for everyone. I mean, no matter what size, is a significant problem. They're plagued with it. We see the models out there that are so thin, and we think, oh, that's what we're supposed to look like. How do you help people overcome that and see the value in themselves as a coach?
Well, I think we start simply. I ask them when I'm interviewing somebody as a potential client for the program, I ask them why they feel they want to do this. Truly, like what is motivating them to do this? And people have different reasons. People have different whys. I would say that I do a lot of listening at the beginning. I think that's very important. Well, to always do a lot of listening, but certainly at the beginning to assess what my potential client truly wants and needs. And then, assuming that it's a fit with our program, help them to understand how our program will help them meet their goals. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Sorry,
right.
Amnon's adjusting me.
Okay. Oh, careful, Amnon.
And I want to thank Amnon, because if without Amnon Nissan, many of the programs, he's telling me to hush, would not be possible. But thank you. Erica, I know that one of the things that I struggle with is that even though I haven't eaten off the program, I have certainly overeaten foods like, with the lean green meal a day.
Freudian slip.
I have overeaten those, or, it says that you can have like 10 or 12 almonds. I have a hard time eating just 10 or 12 almonds. So how do you help people with that, as far as, do you have any ideas or ways that people can really, besides just self-control, which is obviously very big, but ideas on how people to manage those portion sizes?
Well, I mean, we lay it out for you pretty strictly in the materials that we give you. And when I do talk to you on the phone or email, we literally say like half a cup of this to a cup of this, for example, the vegetables in your lean and green. And we keep it simple because there's no hard calculation or anything. But I will say, then it's up to you, really. I mean, I will work with you, and I'll never stop as long as you want to continue. But, you have to jump in as and take a hearty role in this too. So anyway, if you were to say to me, Cindy, it's like potato chips. I can't eat just one, or I can't eat just 10 almonds. I would say, you know what? Let's try a different snack, because there are a lot of choices. So I would maybe skip the almonds if you have a hard time controlling yourself with that, and I would say, let's try something else and see if you have an easier time with that. It seems like that happens for people a lot. Like some foods just trigger a reflex where they seem to allow themselves to be more out of control, or they just are more out of control. And other foods, it's not as much an issue. So we'd have to play with it.
Okay. I know that is a problem, like you said, for many people. And I know that if I have just the plain unsalted almonds, that it's better than having salted ones, because that salt obviously increases my appetite and tastes like I want more. And you're right. And I guess that's the point that I wanted to get to, is if you have a coach or you have someone to help you through, even though you're accountable, the most important accountability is to yourself. And without you taking an active role, no one else can do it for you.
Right.
It just takes, and I think that it's very important that you never give up.
Right.
I mean, how many times have I failed in losing weight? I've been successful sometimes, but I've failed more times than I've been successful. And I might lose, 20 pounds and then gain 40 or whatever, that vicious cycle. So I think as long as you continue to try, you get up each day and you really make the effort that day, that's what's going to get you in the long run. Not saying, oh, okay, well, I completely messed up, so I might as well go eat a cake also, or, a piece of cake, or whatever. Is that something that you deal with people that maybe they have? Anybody that's obese has the tendency to overeat. I mean, they're going to overeat or have that tendency.
Well, the other thing that I think is hopeful for anybody that's overweight or obese is it takes supposedly 3 weeks to create a new habit. If you stay strict and stay strong, it is amazing how different your perspective, even your cravings are after 3 weeks of being on the program. Even, just stepping back, I mean, and really 3 weeks fly. And then all of a sudden you see that you've lost all this weight. I mean, people can lose in our program 15, 20 pounds in 3 weeks, depending on how much they have to lose. Anyway, all these different factors contribute to your psyche and to what you're interested in and, then to how you act and your behavior. So I just tell everybody to keep persevering, as you said, and really try to stay strict with the program. It's meant to be simple, not complicated. You have a lot of food choices on our program. And so it's really very easy to follow. You just have to make the commitment. I always say to all my clients, wrap your head and your heart around your why, around your goals. And think about that every time, you might reach for something you shouldn't be eating.
We have a question on the internet from Marilyn, and she'd like to know, so how do you turn these lessons into wins? And I will comment a little on that, and that I think that each lesson or each thing or goal that we try to set and accomplish, once you have accomplished even a little bit, it's hopeful for you. And once that hope starts springing live within you that it's doable, then that turns into a win.
Yeah, most definitely. Any lesson can be turned into a win, really. I mean, there's always some silver lining from everything that you do, if that's the approach and attitude you want to take in life. But I think what Cindy said earlier is persevering and, knowing that you can just hop back up on the horse every day is very important.
Thank you, Erica. I really appreciate it. We are going to have Cherokee calling in here any minute now, and we're going to have her on the phone and talk with Cherokee for a little bit. She uses several different techniques. As I said, Cherokee is a ICF certified coach, so she is a life coach, but she has really focused a lot of her time over the years into wellness, and she has she does personal training, she does journaling, and which is a big interest to me is the journaling aspect, and also she speaks, she has actual wellness weekends where you go away and it's like a retreat, and she does intensive weekends of like a journal class on that. Is Cherokee here?
I am.
Hi, Cherokee. Well, tell us.
Cindy.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know that you said that you had been working with journaling since 1999.
That is correct. Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit. I was reading on your website, I think one of the things that I found that was very attractive was that one of the things you talk about is having like a talk and walk. And I don't know if that's part of your retreat, but that you are actively, like you just go for a walk with someone and talk about issues or, you know, their wellness or health. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, a walk and talk. A walk and talk combines coaching and fitness. Typically, a lot of coaches or coaching sessions are done either by phone or in person sitting down. But I also, when I got trained as a coach, I also got trained in NLP, which is Neuro-Linguistics Programming. And the reason that's important is when you are physically up and walking with your eyes forward, then you're forward thinking. So coaching is a method in which it's action-oriented, it's goal-oriented, and it actually keeps you out of thinking through everything and just saying what's really going on in your life. So walk and talk is a precise 30-minute focused time where we coach and walk and get started on actions and goals.
Okay. Now, have you ever dealt with any weight issues, Cherokee?
I have. When I had my last son, I was 250 pounds, and so I have been my own student. You know, I believe that walking the walk instead of just talking the talk really helps me be relatable with other people. So weight loss has been my own personal struggle, and so I've tried to learn different ways to help myself so that I could encourage and help others.
Now, I know another tool that you use in all of your coaching, whether it's for wellness or life coaching, etc., is journaling. And I just found that fascinating. And I was reading about one of your creative journaling classes that you're going to have, in fact, on September 29th here in North Raleigh. And I was just wondering, there were some key points, that you really work through people, I guess, to find their emotions. Can you talk to us a little on that?
Yes, the Creative Intensive Weekend, that's going to be September 29th and 30th at the Crabtree Chiropractic Center. And that basically combines all 18 targeted writing techniques that can be used for both personal growth and creative development. So normally when people journal, they do it cathartically, and so they just kind of put write whatever they're thinking or feeling at the time, I'm mad about or I'm sad about. But that once you learn strategic writing strategies, they're like tools in a toolbox. So you pull one out depending on what life circumstance you have going on, and you can be solution-based. You can get where you want to go based on pulling out one of these writing strategies.
Trying to improve your health or lose weight.
Yes, the techniques can be targeted for something specific, such as, weight loss journaling is a great way. That's, keeping a food journal and writing what you're eating is only part of the journey of losing weight. Number one, it's a discipline where you're learning to tell yourself the truth. You have to be willing to tell yourself the truth. So that's why a food journal works. That's how it makes you accountable. And then the other strategies, such as a character sketch, writing on purpose how you see yourself, that'll tell you your beginning point. How do you really see yourself? And the actual act of putting pen to paper, it slows your mind down and allows the subconscious to come forward. It's kind of like a good analogy is, have you ever thought about when you wanted to go to the grocery store and you think, I need this, 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 and this in your head, and then when you get to the grocery store, because you didn't write it down, you forgot some of the things you wanted to get, correct?
Yes. All the time.
So that's a good example of how writing in general is effective. The reason it's effective is because when you put pen to paper, it's not just what is consciously swirling around in your head. You're going below the surface, and you're getting to what's really going on with you and your patterns and habits and behaviors and your thought process. So journaling is I'm a strong believer in journaling because I've done it my entire life. And it can help you get where you want to go if you really want to know who you are, why you are the way you are, and you're dedicated to self-care and being the best person you can be.
I know that I've tried in the past to journal. A lot of years, every year I would start a journal, and every year it was the same thing. I would start a new journal every year, and it would be like 2 or 3 pages in the beginning about how I was going to be different that year. Most of the time it was, becoming healthy, losing weight. Same thing every year. But just to keep it focused and do it on a regular basis, and to keep up with, because I've read about people that are so successful by just writing down everything they eat. That's another way of accountability. And even with the program I'm doing now, I'm thinking, well, maybe I should do that. Write down everything that I'm eating. That way I know exactly, it's going to hold me more accountable to the portion sizes.
It is. Do you have a support system? I mean, I'm doing a kind of a rhetorical question, but, on your weight loss journey, have you been trying to go it alone?
No, I have a support system. Erica is my health coach with Take Shape for Life. I don't know if you watched the beginning of the show. When we were talking to her, and I check in with her each week and so forth, and she's available anytime I need or want to call her. But this is I guess I'm always reading what works for me, or is not always what works for everyone. And I think there's many different ways to approach weight loss and wellness. And I've been intrigued with some of the things I've seen on your website and heard you talk about your health, your wellness retreats, etc., that you do as a person, as a coach. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about, I know you have these wellness retreats where you go and you really, I think it's kind of a self-discovery weekend. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, so my heart's desire is to package and facilitate retreats for women who are interested in self-care and wanting to learn and grow both personally and creatively and build relationships, because I believe a lifelong support system works best. So it's a time where, we can be authentic and be real with each other. My goal is to combine the training that I have, to combine my experience and my personal story and share that with others so that we can empower each other, support each other, and find a way to keep building on a strong foundation of self-love and self-care. And that is through body, mind, and spirit, with body and, of course, the personal training component, and then spiritually the journaling, and the mind with the coaching, and combining all of those elements, as well as bringing in other experts who can come in and teach us what they know or what their story is, because we do all have a story. And I believe that it's empowering if we don't hide it or think that, we can't tell people our pain, because we can take our pain and use it as fuel for our journey if we're willing to be open and honest about our life experience. And you never know how you touch someone else unless you're willing to take that risk.
And that's, I think, difficult for most of us, that to open up. I know that I'm trying to be as honest as possible on this show and, talk about anything that I've encountered personally from the point of being an obese woman, and how that hopefully will motivate me to get healthy and create health. Erica, I know that Erica is still on the line also here, that you work a lot with deeper issues too with people, as far as really, examining who they are, or making the commitment. The commitment, I think, is the most important part of anything, but just keeping people on task as far as that commitment goes. Cherokee, you tell us a little bit more. I know if you were going to say, okay, you're obese, you're trying to make a decision, you want to examine yourself, find out your motivation, would you say one of the retreat weekends would be a good way to, like, jumpstart?
Well, absolutely, because I guess I'm a firm believer in you meet people where they are. You know, everybody is where they are, and so whether it's with coaching or with journaling or any other thing, I believe a person feels empowered when they know that the person they're working with is accepting them where they are, willing to work with them where they are, and help them be their wildest dream, their 100%, their whatever they want to be. So my hope and prayer is that, you know, that all the other person has to do is just take the step to say, you know, I'm ready, and take that step and know that this time is not going to be like the other times. You know what I mean? Like, you have to have that hope and faith and belief
right.
that you were created to be a light.
Right. And Erica and I were talking about that just a little earlier, that I think that hope and faith that, yes, you can be as powerful and healthy as you can be is a prime motivator in the weight loss or get healthy journey. Wouldn't you agree with that, as far as just once having a little a win takes it a big step toward progressing?
Yes, I think that's why I like to say, instead of one day at a time, I like to say one step at a time, you know? And one of the things that was really beneficial in my personal journey is trying to pick myself up, is that, you know, of course it always starts with learning and educating and all of those things, but ultimately I knew that I had to behave my way to success. You know what I mean? I can't just let all of the knowledge lie dormant.
Right.
And so my personal thing that I would do is every night before I went to bed, I would write a list. There's one of the techniques that I teach. It's called List of 100, which sounds really daunting, but it's not as bad as you think it is. But I would write a list the night before I went to bed, so that when I woke up the next morning, I was already motivated. I looked at my list. I was like, this is what I'm doing today. And every time I put a check mark by that, then I knew that I was taking a step, and another check mark, and another check mark. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because when you do it the night before, you go to sleep, you wake up to something. You don't have to create something that morning. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yep.
So you're right. Whatever those personal goals are for each person, or whatever rut they want to get out of, or whatever healing they're looking for, whether it's mind, body, or spirit, we tend to be stronger in one area than the other. That's why people are always searching for balance, right? Because body, mind, spirit, you might be better with mind and spirit than body, or vice versa. So I think that many people struggle with one area, and they're always striving to be better in one of those that they have a weakness in, which is where the accountability and support comes in, and doing it on purpose. You know, you have to live life on purpose, and whenever people lose their motivation, that's when they tend to go back to their old habits, right, to feel defeated. I did hear you say that, you know, just because you mess up one day doesn't mean you quit, right?
Correct. But in the past, I've done that. I mean, you know, you get into this, okay, you're going to start the diet on Monday, and then by Wednesday, you're eating terrible again, because it really hasn't. It's more of just saying it instead of really feeling it, and from it coming from your heart that that this is the time you're going to make a change. And I like that about, you know, kind of setting your intention the night before of what your next day is going to look like, especially with, I think that could work with, you know, like getting in enough water, or you're going to drink this many bottles of water or so forth, or with your plan to exercise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, a lot of the things that you're mentioning, they come from a coaching perspective. It's called a limited belief. That's where the self-sabotage comes in. The patterns in your mind that you've been telling yourself for years, they keep coming back to you. So those things that you're mentioning about starting a journal or starting anything and lasting for a week or two and then slacking off, it's because those limited beliefs come back into your thinking. And that's where journaling is very powerful, because journaling can help track your patterns and habits, especially your thought patterns. And then once you identify those, then you can tell your coach, I'm finding that this is what I keep repeating. What are some things that I can do to replace this thinking, right? Because you've heard, I'm sure you know, you replace something bad with something good. So all those things that you've been telling yourself is really saying that you aren't believing it, but you want to believe it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because you have limited beliefs that are preventing you from keeping on with the momentum. So no matter what program you do, until you face your own limited beliefs, then it's hard to move to the next phase.
And I find that even though consciously I don't believe I have limiting beliefs, that I'm beyond that, I know that I do. You want to think about it and you think, oh, well, one thing I struggled with this past month is, I've done pretty well as far as really trying to take care of myself, start this journey, work toward it, help other people. Hopefully my journey will empower other people to make a journey. But then I had some professional photographs taken for, my other job as a mortgage banker. And I looked at those and they got the photos, and I also looked at this video of my last show, some of it, and I have a hard time looking at myself, I look at myself and I think that I love myself, and then I don't have any qualms, and I see the positive about myself, and that more than just my body speaks to other people or myself. And then I look at those pictures and I'm like, oh my goodness, you look how fat you look, and you can't tell any different. I think that's something that, I really, for a couple of days, had to kind of walk myself through it and try to look at it more objectively. And does any you two out there, do you ever struggle with something like this, or have you in the past?
Limited beliefs are a human problem. They're not specific to weight loss or anything else. Limited beliefs happen before you walk into a room with other people. They happen when you look in the mirror. They're the patterns that have been established in your mind for your whole life. And we all have them. It's kind of like, people say, I'm not a good salesperson. Well, that's a limited belief, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay? So anything like that, I'm not a good salesperson, or I won't make any money if I try that. It's not just about weight. It's all of us. It lives in all of us as a human thing. But again, it's the first thing in being aware of it. And that's what's so excellent about having a coach in your life. Because when you are talking with a coach, and a coach has been trained with powerful questions and how to work with you, you're not going to hear it in yourself. The coach is going to hear it, and then they're going to ask you about it, and then that's going to take you deeper. And then you add the journaling piece to that, and you journal. This is what, happened in our session today. Wow, I didn't know I had this limited belief. I said this. I didn't even know I said it out loud. And that's how you get to the root of the problem. That's how you start solving the problem. You see? Because then once you understand it, then you can take the action step. Then you want to take the action step. And, and as a personal trainer, I'll tell anybody, I did hear you say something about the almonds, about the 12 almonds. I tell people, you forget about the food first. Get your butt out there for 30 minutes or an hour or whatever it is first. And when you get out there and you do the action step, you won't want to sabotage yourself because look at the work you just put in. People focus on the food first, when I believe you should focus on the action first. Focus on the activity first. And then the rest will follow.
See, I have found personally that if I'm eating poorly and my diabetes, my sugar is high and so forth, I don't have the energy or the ability to go out and exercise. That somehow I have to get all that stabilized by my eating patterns, and then I'm healthy enough to go out and do that. From that's just my personally. Now, some people I know that's a motivation for them. You know, they start walking or exercising or whatever, and then
whatever your diet is irrelevant to the actual action or activity. So I understand about the diabetes. So whatever food you have to eat or do to stabilize the diabetes before you go out and walk or whatever, wherever you are.
Whatever action.
That's right. That's irrelevant because, we can always, all of us, and this is all of us, we all have what's called a self-serving bias. We can always find a way to get around why we don't have the time or the energy or the whatever to get around it, right? All of us have that. So
I can think of a million reasons.
It really comes down to what is the real focus. And just listening to you, it sounds like there's a lot of fear. There's fear-based to it. You've heard about the I'm afraid to be so great kind of thinking. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm just saying based on the language. You have to remember that. Pay attention to how you're saying things.
And Marilyn commented, we all have, and talking about limiting beliefs, we all have had them. It is your underlying conversation, but we don't have to focus on them. And I think that's it. I mean, sometimes you just acknowledge that you have it and you go on.
That's not what a coach would tell you.
Okay.
No, a coach would tell you that you want to solve the problem. You acknowledge that that's a limiting belief, and then, like I said, then we journal about it, and then we would say, what do you want to do with it? Now, I think what would be appropriate would say that it's about timing. If the person isn't ready, when I say like you meet a person where they are, you can't just listen to them and bombard them where they feel overwhelmed and they want to quit, right?
Correct.
So by meeting a person where they are, if their limiting beliefs are several and many and layered and all of those things, then it depends on where the person is. I don't think that there's one prescription for everyone, right? Everyone.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that everyone, and
that is a blanket statement.
That's one of the things that I really wanted to explore on the show in general, and one of the reasons that I started the show is there's a lot of different techniques, ways. Some people, personally to me, I think some people respond to some foods better than others. I think that certain eating patterns are better for one person than it is another. And I think we have to find our right path. And the only way to find that path is to gain knowledge. And I would say that most fat people have more knowledge about how to eat properly or what the standards or what people are telling them than anyone else. And the reason I even wanted to have I wanted a coach that on the show tonight that focused more on the food and getting healthy from the food standpoint. Not that it doesn't encompass a lot of other things, the accountability, the exercise, etc., but also from an emotional standpoint, which I think you address well. And just finding that inner person and what they want and helping them, that best person come forth. And that best person, one of the things you talked about was balance. I think everybody has trouble with balance. We would be perfect if we had perfect balance as far as that mind, body, and spirit. I my goal was to show that no matter what the technique as far as coaching, the ultimate thing is that there seems to be running through a theme through everyone's message is that body, whether it be nutrition and exercise, the spirit, whether you really help people, I think in that area, as far as journaling, etc. But the spirit as far as knowing your possibilities and socializing and having a purpose in life, or some of the main things that run true throughout everyone's program or techniques. Would you say that you find that true a lot?
Yeah, I would say I agree with a lot of the things that you're mentioning, and that we are unique. What works for us is different, and that's why our story is important. And I would love to have the opportunity to do a weight loss retreat with a group of 6 to 8 women where we could explore all of that and see what solutions we come up with. So let me know if that's a possibility for us in the future.
Okay, that certainly is something we could do. Now, Erica, I wanted to mention one other thing that you do before we kind of end the program here. And Erica has a lovely 14-year-old daughter that encountered bullying, severe traumatic bullying. And she's probably in the background listening to me, but she actually, because of that, Erica, with her background, she began the Chatham County Bullying Prevention Task Force over a year ago, with the help of another parent, the county superintendent, and the leadership team. The group is now in about 150 people, and it's in all 17 schools in Chatham County. And we talked a little bit about bullying and how that it's not certainly limited to obese or overweight children, but I would say that they encounter quite a bit of bullying from that. I also want to again thank our sponsor tonight, which is Leslie Flowers. She remember, she teaches people, and along lines with what Cherokee was talking to us about tonight, to step through their fears, to believe them themselves, to honor and accept your own infinite wisdom and greatness. She has 3 workshops this fall, one in September, it's this Friday, one in October and November. She also has an 8-week Think and Grow Rich Mastermind study that starts next Tuesday in Cary. And you can find all that information at pathsofchange.com. Leslie, thank you very much for sponsoring our show tonight. I also want to mention some of the other programs that Cherokee has on September 29th. She has what is that? It's a creative intensive weekend, and that's going to again be at Crabtree Chiropractic. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's the 29th and 30th. And
yes.
I think that's going to be all the techniques of journaling, I believe.
That is correct. And it's, you can sign up at CherokeeWholeHealth.com.
Yeah, it's CherokeeWholeHealth.com. And to find more about Erica and some of her pursuits, I believe your website is ericamycoach.com?
www.mycoacherica.com.
It's what?
mycoacherica.com.
mycoacherica.com. And I really appreciate both of you being on the show, and let's talk about different perspectives. And I would like to offer a challenge to everyone out there that we all do 10 minutes of activity, whether it be walking, each day for the next month. And I'm going to journal mine and keep up with it and be accountable. So I'll let you know if I missed a day, but I'll do 10 minutes of some type of activity every day until the first weekend or first Tuesday in October. Amnon's happy about that. Again, thank you, Erica. Thank you, Cherokee. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Leslie Flowers with pathsofchange.com. And I'll see you.
Thank you, Cindy, for putting the show together and for being who you are and doing this. It's really quite an accomplishment.
Oh, thank you.
It's a whole lot about you.
Thank you. And of course, we have the Facebook page is Body Talk with Cindy. And if anybody wants to go on there and comment, please do. And thank you for listening. And thank you, Boo. And they know who that is. I'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Good night.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Sundays 9 a.m. to noon. Health In with Debbie Brooke, Mondays 11 a.m. to noon.
Is that okay?
The Scope of Things with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays 7 to 8 p.m. Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Mondays 8 to 9 p.m. Body Talk with Cindy Prince, first Tuesdays 8 to 9 p.m. Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, Wednesdays 8 to 9 p.m. And if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by ThatVidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.